Next slide, please. All right, gay rights in the Middle East. So unfortunately, when we talk about the Middle East, we really talking mainly about Israel, because all the neighboring countries either don't have LGBT organizations, they don't have adoption rights, homosexuality is illegal, there's no legal protections of gays from discrimination or hate crimes, there is honor killing, there's no open military service, and there's no spousal benefit, of course, because so very often homosexuality is outlawed. I really appreciate choices. However, I have to tell you that as queer people and as human rights supporters, we really don't have much choices or many choices in the Middle East, because Israel, being the only democracy in the Middle East, is the really only country that supports our own community. So people who care about human rights, people who care about queer liberation movement, have to support Israel. We cannot support, I wish I could come and tell you, the queer liberation movement in Israel is good, however in Syria, it's so much better. Or in Egypt, you should go there. Or Hamas, that controls the Gaza Strip, is so much better. Or Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, is very supportive of our cause. But I cannot tell you that, because it's not true, okay? Because President Assad massacres his own people. President Mubarak killed 850 people before he was ousted. President Assad probably killed already more than 3,000 people. That's some of the assessments that I read. The same goes in Yemen, and Muammar Gaddafi doesn't need much explanation. So we have a situation when all Arab countries are harsh dictatorships. All of them oppress queer people harshly, and as people who support human rights and people who support the queer liberation movement, we really don't have many choices in the Middle East. I wish we were. I wish I could tell you, definitely give money to the Jerusalem Open House in Jerusalem or to the Syrian Open House in Damascus. But I can't tell you because there is none. And I wish I could tell you the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah is so much better, but this is not the case. Queer Palestinians escape to Israel to save their life. Palestinians, friends that I talked to, they said, well, very often it's their family that is trying to kill them, but very often it's not their family. It's the police. It's the Palestinian police or Hamas or Islamic Jihad. So people who care about human rights, who care about queer liberation movement, these are our choices. Next slide, please. All right, here you have a definition. Honor killing is when a male kills a female family member who has had sex or is rumored to have had sex outside of marriage, either by choice or because she was raped. Some countries have no or only life penalties for this kind of killings. There are some countries in the Middle East, the women are being killed by family members or by their communities because of rumors, because you don't have to prove anything, a rumor would be sufficient, okay? And then you have the sources, Amnesty International, which is highly criticized of Israel, actually praises Israel, and you have other sources there as well. And it is true that terrorist organizations like Hamas or Islamic Jihad would approach those women and would tell them, we're going to kill you anyway. However, and you're going to die as a prostitute. However, as a gesture of goodwill, we let you be a suicide bomber. So you can go and kill innocent Israelis, or you can go and kill innocent Christians or American soldiers in Iran, in Iraq, or in Afghanistan, and that would be your way out. Then you're going to die anyway. But we're going to give you an option to die as a shaheed, as a martyr, as opposed to dying as a prostitute. Next slide, please. All right, Iran. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran, calls for the annihilation of the state of Israel, denies the Holocaust, and also not persecutes, but executes gay people in his own country. And here you can see some of the pictures. Next slide, please. Okay. Iran has executed more than 200 people so far this year. The information is from 2007, according to Human Rights Watch. Many of them via this brutal public method of hoisting them into the air with cranes. Those 4 men were among 21 people from 2007 that were executed this way. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And then, of course, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is invited to the United Nations to give a speech. Iran is still a member of the United Nations, despite the fact that she calls for the extermination of the State of Israel. And he says, we have no gay people in our country. Next slide, please. Yeah, there is some protest within our own movement, the queer liberation movement in this country, but if you ask me, it's insufficient. It's not enough. I don't see enough community activists that go and demonstrate against Iran, against Egypt, against Syria, against the Palestinian Authority for their gross violation of human rights. Next slide, please. Again, these are some of the demonstrations that you can see. My own opinion is that it's too little. It is insufficient. Egypt, that's Egypt before the revolution, yeah, under President Mubarak. President Mubarak, for some reason, decided to put an end to queer, not liberation movement, but queer gathering in Egypt of gay men. There was a huge crackdown in 2008 when people got arrested, lost their job, and spent time in prison. Next slide, please. All right, this is the Supreme Court of the State of Israel. Behind it is the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, and underneath it is the office of the Prime Minister of the State of Israel. So much like in the United States, the Prime Minister has to go up the hill to the legislative branch and the judicial branch. Next slide, please. The president of the Supreme Court in Israel is Dorit Beinish. Dorit Beinish is a very brilliant judge, a true feminist. The United States has yet to have a woman as the president or the chief justice of the Supreme Court. Beinish is a true liberal and a great supporter of the gay community in Israel. What's really unique about the Supreme Court in Israel is that it's also the High Court of Justice. The High Court opened its doors to all Israeli citizens and actually to people who are not citizens of the State of Israel, like Palestinians who live in the West Bank and before 2005, when Israel evacuated the Gaza Strip, to Palestinians who live in the Gaza Strip. It's relatively easy to get to the Supreme Court. Unlike the United States, where the Supreme Court can pick and choose the cases that it wants to deal with, in Israel, any violation of human rights or any other violation of property rights by government or one of its authorities, the military, the local communities, can go into the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has to take their case. The case could be easily dismissed, but it would be dismissed by a justice of the Supreme Court. Next slide. Okay, we're gonna skip that because that's, yeah. All right, here you see a little bit of a rundown of some of the decisions of Justice Beinish. Not all of them were her decisions, okay? But she heads the Supreme Court. So in 2005, the Supreme Court ruled that a lesbian couple is able to legally adopt each other's children. Beforehand, gay partners or parents were granted guardianship of their partner's kids. On March 10, 2009, the Tel Aviv Family Court ruled that former Knesset member Uzi Even, I talked to you guys about him, and his life partner can legally adopt their foster son. March 2008, Israel Interior Ministry granted a gay Palestinian from Jenin a rare residency permit to live with his partner for 8 years in Tel Aviv after he said his sexuality put his life in danger in the West Bank. Next slide, please. Israeli law recognizes same-sex marriages performed elsewhere, not in Israel itself. It's the only country in the Middle East and all of Asia to do so. It does not, however, allow same-sex couples to marry on Israeli soil. Civil marriages does not exist in Israel for heterosexual couples either. The State of Israel allows foreign partners of its homosexual citizenry to receive residency permits. The Civil Service Commission extends spousal benefits and pensions to the partners of homosexuals employees. This is not the case in the United States. Okay, again, the Jerusalem Open House organizes the Gay Pride Parade in Jerusalem every year, and then they have it. This one is from 2005. The Jerusalem Open House hosted the World Pride Parade in Israel, where representatives from all over the world came and talked and celebrated queer liberation movement in Israel. Next slide, please. Okay, I wanted to conclude my remarks by quoting Harvey Milk. Harvey Milk was a Jewish council member in the city of San Francisco, the first person to be elected to be a first openly gay person to be elected to office in the United States of America, and he was assassinated. On the 25th of June 1978, he spoke for the Gay Pride Parade in San Francisco. It was attended by 375,000 people, what many people consider the greatest gathering of that decade. And he spoke about the queer liberation movement and his own experience. He talks a lot about the bigotry that we faced back in the 70s by people who were trying to get gay people out of the schools because gay people allegedly molest kids, and also criticizes harshly President Jimmy Carter, who talked a lot about human rights but did nothing to support the queer liberation movement back in the 70s. So I'll conclude by what Harvey Milk was saying, and then Harvey Milk would be assassinated a few months after he gave this remarkable speech. My name is Harvey Milk, and I want to recruit you. I want to recruit you for the fight to preserve your democracy from the John Briggs and Anita Bryers who are trying to constitutionalize bigotry. We are not going to allow that to happen. We are not going to sit back in silence as 300,000 of our gay brothers and sisters did in Nazi Germany. We are not going to allow our rights to be taken away and then march with both heads into the gas chambers. On this anniversary of Stonewall, I ask my gay sisters and brothers to make the commitment to fight for themselves, for their freedom, and for their country. And then he goes on and criticizes President Carter for his inaction. He concludes his remark by saying, on the Statue of Liberty it says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free." In the Declaration of Independence it is written, all men are created equal and they are endowed with certain rights